Welcome to the Stepmom Side with Alicia Crasco, the podcast for stepmoms ready to create the life they want and one they actually have a say in. Here we talk all things stepmom life and just a little bit more. Leave the superficial conversations at the door and get ready for perspective shifts and actionable advice to help you on your way to creating the life you want, one step at a time. Hey, welcome back to this week's podcast episode on the Stepmom Side podcast. This week, let's talk about what it's like to go from single and living your life to dating somebody that's got kids, and then what that looks like when you enter into engagement and marriage and all of that. So if you're like me, you probably started out single, no kids, that you brought into your current relationship. And it's that's an understatement, kind of a shock to go from single and living your life to dating somebody with kids, right? Because you are working when you want. Maybe you're working a lot. Maybe you're super ambitious, career driven, very black and white, very type A, very doing all the things, planned, structured, rigid, routines, all of the things, right? And you're so good at running your life, here, let me run yours, right? That's what I used to think, here, I'm so good at running my life, let me run yours. And I loved my single life. I traveled a lot with my girlfriends. I did a lot of things whenever I wanted to do them, however I wanted to do them. I'd sleep in until all hours of the night or all hours of the day. I'd stay up late. Still have a habit that I try to break sometimes. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Just for context, I'm sitting out on our screen porch. So if you hear airplane noises or the cat meowing because he wants to come in, that's what's happening. I'm not in my office. I'm it's such a nice day out. I'm just going to be outside. Maybe you'll hear the birds chirping too. But it's really a shock to go from single and living your life to dating somebody that's got kids, because you don't really know. Okay, not that you don't really know. You have absolutely no idea what it's like to go from single and living your life to dating somebody engaged, married, with kids. That is a massive shock, because all you wanted to do was fall in love with somebody. And yeah, so they had kids, whatever, which I don't think we ever consciously think about oh, this person has an ex that we're going to have to contend with, we're going to have to deal with for however long. You're just oh, I'm in love. Love is blind, right? And so you don't see all of the other things that come with that. And so to go from having free reign of your world and your life and your schedule and your everything to basically lockdown is kind of what it feels like, is quite the shock. Or let's say that you're dating and then now you guys are living together. And here's something that I see with stepmoms that I coach, is that a lot of them are had I known that this is what it was going to be when we moved in together, I think we would have waited. I would have waited. I would have preferred to wait than to have moved in together, because when we had separate lives, things were so much easier. I had my life and I got to do what I wanted to do and go and do, again, it's that freedom part. It's that control of your schedule and your life and your work and your money and your house and your everything, to not having as much control of those things. And I think that's the hardest lesson for stepmoms is, I don't know why, most of the stepmoms that I feel I've met are type A, black and white, career driven, ambitious. Those are the stepmoms that I find myself coaching, and or I feel are drawn to me for coaching or even in the community. And that's really, really hard. So yeah, then you move in together, and now you don't have that out where if you had stayed your house versus their house, you have that place to retreat. You have that place where you can go and escape. You have that place where you can go back to and it's pristine. You can eat off the floors if that's your type of cleanliness. You can have everything however you want. It's only you that you have to clean up after, and it's only you that you have to buy groceries for. It's only you that you have to like stock toiletries for. It's only you that you're paying electricity and utilities and all of the things for. It's your place. It's your safe haven. And then you go and like live with somebody that's got kids and you're like, whoa, I didn't realize how much of an adjustment that this was going to be. I didn't realize, A, the noise level that came with kids, B, the chaos that came with kids' schedule or schedules, C, the messiness that kids bring, and D, the amount of times you're going to have to repeat yourself. And this is something I feel like stepmoms get hung up quite a bit on. I did too, because if you're coming into the relationship without kids, you don't realize that it's developmentally normal for you to have to repeat yourself 800 times. Kids like repetition, right? Like babies keep dropping things to make sure that things still fall when they drop. Kids jump off of things to make sure that they can still jump off of things, right? It's the repetition. So, trying to teach them how to tie their shoes or how to zip their coat or how to make their bed or how to whatever, you're going to find yourself repeating that so many times. And you're just like, oh my gosh. But what you don't realize if you're coming in without kids is that this is normal. This is normal. This kid isn't being difficult just because it's your stepkid. This kid isn't being difficult at all per se. They're just developmentally normal. Like they're still just like learning all of the things. And I wish that that's something that I would have known. Not that I would have listened if anyone had told me, but like if I would have just known that. And then now you're in like the day-to-day things, which is really hard because before maybe you and your partner got together every Thursday or every Friday or every weekend or every other weekend or whatever. So it's hard to make that time when you guys now live together. And yeah, it sounds easy, like, oh, we've only got the kids 50% of the time. Okay, great. But when you don't have the kids, that's now when you're doing all of your adult errands that you need to do. Maybe you're going to the dry cleaning, maybe you're getting your hair done, grocery shopping, cleaning your house, whatever it is, doing all of the things that you need to do. So it's hard to navigate living together because there's kids, but then also like your relationship feels like it's now no longer like front and center like where it was before. And it's easy to burn out. It's easy to fall into like, I'm an outsider, I'm second best, I don't belong here, our relationship isn't what I thought that it was, I don't want to do this anymore, this is too much, I'm overwhelmed, I don't like this, I don't want to be here. But like, who are you going to go and tell that to? Like, obviously you can't go and tell your partner that because they're going to be like, what the hell, what do you mean you don't like this? What do you mean you don't want to do this? What do you mean you don't want to be here? What do you mean you don't like my kids? You loved them before. Yeah. And it's hard to explain. It was great to hang out with them in small doses before, but now I've just been like dumped into it. And I don't have anywhere to go, or I don't have any place to go for like a retreat because I can't escape. Like I'm here and I'm here. And if you've got older stepkids, like tweens or teens, and then something weird happens, then like the house is weird. And then what? Like maybe your partner and the kids like aren't getting along because your partner said no and like held a boundary and now the kid is mad and it's weird. And so you're like, I don't know what to do. Like this is a really awkward situation. This is really, really hard. And then add in like if you moved into their house or if you moved in with them, you definitely feel like the outsider because it's like, okay, well, all of you guys already live here or have lived here and I'm on the outside looking in and I'm trying to like assimilate in. However, you guys have since birth, since utero time together, and I don't have that history with you. I'm trying to forge my way. I'm trying to, build history with you, but maybe I only have like 3 days, 5 months, a year out of like your 10-year life or out of your 13-year life, like for the kid. And it's hard to make up for that time. And it's also hard to recognize or realize that like you don't have that really deep well of reserves of like love, of patience, of compassion, all of those things. So your threshold for bullshit when it comes to your stepkids is going to be a lot less for a lot of different reasons. One, you don't have that reserve that you can just draw from and be like, you know what? I've been here. Oh my gosh, I remember when they were babies, or I remember when they were little and they did all of these things. And if you have been here since, or if you've been around since your stepkids were babies, kudos to you. Like, those are really hard times too. Like, trying to send a baby back and forth between two houses and whatever that looks like. Because I know as a mom, because now I've got a child of my own, as a mom, it would be really hard to let my baby, she's not a baby anymore, she's 5, but like to let my baby go like house to house and to not know what's going on. Like, is she being fed? Is she this, that, or the other? Is he or she being fed? This, that, or the other. And that is really hard. And then if add in, like, if you're in a high conflict situation, like, oh my gosh, there's so many variables that like go into just having kids. But yeah, it's so wild to come in the middle of like the story and try to like hurry up and get caught up on like where we are and what we're doing and who does what and whose personality is this. You're trying to learn all these characters where everyone already knows the characters really, 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 really well. It's like you're in, like they're in this clique and you're like on the outside looking in, like trying to get in, and you're like, I'm gonna get in or I'm gonna die trying. So you die trying, and then you're like burnt out. And why is this happening to me? Why do I feel like this? And it's because we don't give ourselves grace as a stepmom to sometimes just be, and sometimes be like, okay, I am my own person. I have my own wants, needs, and desires. I have my own things that bring me joy. And if your stepkids bring you joy, that's great. And if they don't bring you joy, that's okay too. That's honestly probably more of the norm. Like, it's totally okay for you not to be completely obsessed with your stepkids. So I don't want you to think like that's the end game. Like, if you're not obsessed with them, you're not obsessed with them. At the most basic level, we're working on a cordial relationship. I will never sit here and say to you, I think that you need to love your stepkids, and I think that you guys should be best friends, and I think that you should just like kiss the ground that they walk on. Never. Absolutely not. Never will I ever say that, because I think those are unrealistic expectations. So when you are trying to build this relationship, when you're coming in the middle of a story and you're trying to like get caught up, give yourself some grace to just like take a back seat, to be on the back burner and just watch and observe what is going on, what's the dynamic here, what is the power play, what is happening. Find a community, get some help. Man, I wish I would have gotten help sooner than I did. Holy smokes. But find a community where you can get some outside support, because I will tell you, Google is not your friend. First things first, Google is not your friend. And then secondly, your partner doesn't deserve to know every single thing that you're thinking. As a matter of fact, it's probably really detrimental to you and your relationship for you to be telling your partner every single thing, because I can guarantee you every single thing that's coming out of your mouth is not going to be pleasant. And your partner doesn't want to hear that. You can't take back words that you've said. You can't take back things that you've done. So find something else, somewhere else, a community, to have that outlet, to bounce ideas off of, to talk through things and get some feedback and kind of get your thoughts and mind in order before you approach your partner about it. And then let's talk about like when you're actually married. And so when you're dating, you could leave, right? When you are engaged, you could leave. When you're married, it's a little bit more of an issue, because then, maybe you get married and you're like, damn it, I'm stuck. Like, what am I going to do now? Like, I can't just get up and leave. I can't just walk away. Now you have to dig in and like do the actual work, right? And I will say, in my time as a stepmom, things have gotten better the longer that we've been together, because I did the work, because my husband did the work, because we put in those hard hours of like, I would rather not be doing this. I would rather not be crying my eyes out to a therapist. I would rather not be, looking in the mirror and being like, okay, Alicia, how are you not showing up? Or what are you doing that's perpetuating problems? Or what are you doing that is causing problems? Where are areas that you could actually improve? Right? Because here I came in like definitely with a chip on my shoulder, like, oh, never been married, didn't have any kids, like so good. And then you realize like, oh, you come with your own preconceived notions of how a house should be ran, how a family should be operating, how this, that, and the other should be done, right? Not really realizing and understanding. I think we realize, but I don't think we understand that like when you come in to a blended family, a step family, everyone already has their defined roles, right? Like your partner has this role that they've been playing and they've been doing. The kids have this role and this dynamic that they've been playing, doing, and expect. And then there's you on the outside who has no idea what's been going on. And then you come in and you're like, well, this is what I think we should do. And so that's where so many issues happen, because it's like, you can't come in as the outsider and say, change this, 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 and this, and this, and this. Ask me how I know. I spent a lot of time trying to do that. And more than anything, it caused a lot of turmoil in my marriage, that like, or in our relationship. Like, honestly, hindsight is always 20/20. I wish I had it then, but I don't. Like, but now we've got the wisdom to look back and be like, damn, there are a lot of things that like I shouldn't have done. But you don't know, right? Like, my ideas are so good. Like, here, again, I'm so good at running my life. Like, let me run your guys's. It's not really how it works. You can't fix something that you didn't break. Not everyone's going to be open to the ideas that you've got. Not everyone's going to be open to the advice that you've got. Not everyone's going to be open to your way of doing things. And then like add in like holidays too, right? Everyone's got their own traditions. So you've got your own traditions. Well, then there's like this family that you're entering and they've already got their own traditions. And so the best thing I can tell you is, before you get to any holiday, whether it's the end of the year holidays or like birthdays or whatever holiday it is, have the conversation before you get to that holiday. Have that conversation with your partner and just be like, hey, in my family, on insert holiday, on birthdays, we do this. I would like to be able to like incorporate this somehow. Can you help me with that? And have a conversation before you get to that holiday, because if you get to that holiday and you say nothing, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be pissed. You're going to feel let down. You're going to feel like you're making all these sacrifices for everyone and no one's doing anything for you. Which 100% totally valid, because that's exactly what happened. Why? Because you didn't communicate what you wanted or needed prior to getting there. So again, it goes back to, before you were in this life, you did what you wanted. Like for me, birthdays were a big deal. Like I always traveled for my birthday. Like it was a big deal. Like one year, like the year that I met my husband, I traveled like the middle of July to like the middle of August for my birthday. My birthday is the beginning of August. And birthdays have always been a big deal to me. I'm the only one in my family that's got a birthday around my birthday. And then I marry, and this is so petty, but then I marry into my husband's family, and his dad has a birthday around my birthday. His uncle has a birthday around my birthday. The ex has a birthday around my birthday. And so now I'm sharing my birthday with all of these people. And I say sharing, including the ex, because my stepkids have to get gifts for her, right? That's their mom. They have to get gifts for her too. So I go from like, my birthday is my birthday, to like sharing my birthday with all of these people. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it was just like one, like when you're in the trenches, it's like, it's one more thing that is just like going in like the con list of like the pros and cons, the con list of like being here. And then, but honestly now, like that's not even something that I really worry or like stress myself out about that much. I'm just like, it's been almost 13 years at this point. Like I don't really care. I have done a really good job of like carving out like, this is my birthday, and birthdays are a big deal for me, like for other people too. So our wedding anniversary and my husband's birthday are close too. And so I always said to him, I will never combine those 2 days, or they're close together, but I will never combine those 2 days. Like for him, like birthdays are your birthday. Back to, like, I went from, like, living my life and, like, celebrating however I wanted to, like, okay, now this is a new thing, and here's a tradition that I do for my birthday. Here's what I would like. So we typically travel for birthdays, and, like, for, like, my husband and I at birthdays anyway. Not so much the stepkids because, like, they were in school, like, at that time. But it's always, even, like, because we didn't go anywhere for the birthday, like, I would always make a big deal out of it. Like, the house would be really decorated, or we'd get, like, a really fun cake, or I always made sure that they had the cake that they wanted, or they would have the dinner that they wanted. They could invite over whoever they wanted to invite over. But it's wild to go from, like, single and, like, living your life to, like, all of a sudden, like, you are with somebody that's got kids. They're like, there's no honeymoon phase of, like, hey, let's just get to know each other, just you and I. It's like, hey, let's get to know each other and your ex and your kids and your extended family that may be, like, very well enmeshed in, like, your relationship, which I think is really hard too. But it's a different ball game to, like, date somebody like that, and then when you move in together, and then it's, like, in your face 24/7, and then to go into, like, now I'm married and now I'm in this and I can't just, like, get out. But, like, another part of it is, though, is, like, the kids have had already been through a loss. They've already been through a divorce. And for me, because if you've been here, you know, like, I spent a lot of time Googling how to get divorced. But I was like, these kids have already been through a divorce. The last thing they need is to go through another one. Like, I don't want to re-traumatize them. Like, how uncool is, like, what's coming to my head, but, like, that's such, like, an understatement. But, like, how horrible would that be to just, like, be married for a bit and then, like, okay, I'm out, like, not even make it to a year, and, like, it's now it's nothing, right? And it's a lot because being a stepmom really shines light on, like, your flaws, or where you could, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and, like, kind of, like, get yourself together. And I don't think we're always ready for that. I will say that being a stepmom has definitely made me a better mom, because I was just talking to a friend about this yesterday. It's made me a better mom because I've learned to not sweat the smaller things. Like, you're not in bed by 8 o'clock, you're not in bed by 10 o'clock, maybe it's 10:05, 10:15. That used to drive me bananas with my stepkids when they were younger. But now with my daughter, or even with my stepson, like, when he was here full time, I was like, it's not the end of the world, right? Like, I would much rather you go to bed happy, not, like, under some sort of, like, anger emotion that you're feeling, whatever it is, like, whatever vibe that I'm giving off. I'd rather you go to bed, like, with a good feeling or a good vibe than to go to bed or to be, like, angry at you because you're not going to bed, and then say, like, go to sleep. Like, how do you yell at somebody to go to sleep and expect them to get, like, a good night's rest, right? Now, having said that, have there been times, not so much with my stepkids, I've never said anything to them, but, like, I've definitely had said things to my husband, but with my daughter, like, oh my God, like, just go to bed. Like, there are so many times now that I can be like, oh, okay, this isn't a stepkid thing. It's just a kid thing, right? Like I was talking about at the beginning, like, the repetition thing of it. So with her, I'm like, just please just go to bed, right? And if I didn't have that experience before, like with my stepkids, this would have bothered me a lot. But I'm like, oh, it's just, like, normal. But also, like, I can be more open and honest about how annoying it is to me that an hour later I'm still like, hey, go to bed. Because if I were to go and be like, hey, it took me an hour last night to put my stepkids to bed, it was so annoying, it was so frustrating, people would come for me, like, how dare you say that, you're just the stepmom, you're just, just whatever. And that used to bother me too, when people would say, oh, you're just insert whatever. I'm like, okay, so I'm just the stepmom, but then why are you judging me when I'm not, like, stepping in? And now all of a sudden I'm, like, the evil stepmom, where now I'm like, yeah, you know what, I am just the stepmom. I'm cool with that. Like, I'm okay with that. But yeah, so if you are on the struggle bus from, like, going from, like, single and no kids to dating somebody you're like married with stepkids, and it's a lot. Like, it's overwhelming. It's overstimulating. The chaos is a lot. The constant back and forth, the constant communication with the other house, having to deal with another house, or having to deal with another woman. Like, girlfriend, I see you. Like, I totally hear you. So here is what I want you to like take away from this podcast episode. It's a short one, but I want you to take away from this podcast, like, give yourself some grace, because this is probably the first time that you've ever navigated this. Give yourself the pep talk that you would give a girlfriend, like the next time that you're struggling with this. You know, like, what I want you to ask yourself, like, what would I say to a girlfriend that was struggling with the same situation? Or if you've listened to the podcast enough, like, we're coming up on like a year's worth of podcast episodes, which is so exciting. I'm so excited about it. You can probably hear my voice like in your head. What I want you to ask yourself, like, what would Alicia say to me? Or what advice would Alicia give me? And go with that. But then also, like, send me a message on Instagram. I'm just at Alicia Carrasco, and say, hey, you know what? Today I was struggling with this, but here's how I talk to myself about it. Like, I want to know, like, your growth and, like, what's happening. Just the other day, I was cleaning out something in our basement, and I found something, because I live in their house. If you're new here, like, hey, I'm Alicia, and I like moved into their house, and I found something in the basement pertaining to like my husband and the ex, and like, it years ago would have like sent me over the edge. It didn't, and my husband wasn't home, but I actually like messaged him and was like, hey, should we keep this? And years ago, I would never have done that. I would have just thrown it away. I did post about it in the Stepmom Side community. If you're not in there, aliciacarrasco.com/community. And you'll see like the post that's in there about it. But yeah, it's a wild ride going from like single, no kids, to like dating somebody with kids. So make sure that you're giving yourself all the grace. You've got this. I'm in your corner. And if you need that community to like go to and vent and like get some actionable advice and get like things off your chest before you go to your partner, come join us inside the Stepmom Side community. We would love to have you. I will talk to you next week. Thanks for taking time to listen to this week's episode. If anything was helpful or resonated with you, please share it on social media and tag me. I'm just at Alicia Carrasco. And if you could leave a 5-star rating and a review while you're at it, that would also be really helpful. And if you find yourself struggling with your stepmom journey and you want a little bit more support without the hefty price tag of coaching, you might want to check out the Stepmom Side community, which is my own private community for stepmoms, where you get to connect with other stepmoms around the world and myself, where I hold weekly office hours and monthly group coaching. It's kind of like you have your own personal coach in your own back pocket. Again, without that hefty price tag. See you next week.